Hello YouTube, Goddard Radio Moscow here again with another beer review for you as is usual. For this one we are going to continue on with the Scottish series of beer reviews that I've been doing for you. So this is review number 20 in the Scottish Beer Month series. We're going to return to the west coast of Scotland this time, to the Isle of Arran, and I've done one review from these guys before. So this is the Isle of Arran Brewery, and this time we are going to have a taste of their beer called Sunset, which I believe is a bitter. It's meant to be a really nice one, this, so I'm quite looking forward to doing the tasting part of the video of this one for you. So as is usual then, we'll go through a brief history of the brewery. It is fairly short, but if you don't want to stay with me for that, just fast forward a few minutes and you will get straight to the tasting section. The brewery website is in the video description for you below, along with a link to my other Isle of Arran beer reviews, so check those out if you are interested. But anyway, as I mentioned to you, this is one of the more kind of established Scottish craft breweries. They have been about for a little while, but they've gained a lot more prominence with the kind of recent boom that we've had in Scottish craft brewing over the last 10 years or so. But the brewery is located on the eastern part of the Arran Island near Brodick Castle, and it apparently has very nice views of the Brodick Bay and Goatfelt Mountain, and they describe themselves as quite a high-tech microbrewery, and there are some kind of very little interesting bits of innovation go on in this brewery. But they say that they use the finest ingredients and also the island's water to create their beer, and it will give it quite a bit of a unique flavour actually. Obviously the mineral content of beer, or of water sorry, can play quite an interesting role in the flavour of the beer. And Arran itself also has one whisky distillery, and I thought there was more than that, but there apparently is only one, and it's called the Arran Distillery, and I do think they're actually next door to these guys, but correct me on that if I am wrong. But the brewery opened to full production in February 2000 under Richard and Elizabeth Roberts, and in the six years prior to opening, Richard had actually been taking brewing courses, and he'd worked in a number of breweries while putting together the concept for what is now the Arran Brewery. Now the brewery apparently has a capacity of 20 barrels, and it operates using equipment that they purchased from the now defunct Tipsy Road Town House Brewpub in St Helier down in Jersey in the Channel Islands. Now this brewery is a two-floor building with the mash tun on the upper floor and the facilities for the runoff in the steam-based heat copper kettles. These guys are down below that, and there's also a valentine there which controls the runoff by gravity, and apparently this is a very kind of unique feature of this brewery. But they also have their own bottling line which can support up to 5 barrels in one bottling run, so I'm not sure how kind of big scale that is. But in 2008 the brewery actually went into administration, and then it was purchased by Glasgow-based marketing firm Marketing Management Services International, MMSI sorry, and they've heavily invested in the brewery, increasing the staff numbers, the capacity, and also facilitating the introduction of quite a few new beers as well. But it's actually a very decorated brewery. The Arran Dark won awards in 2012 in the World Beer Awards, and they also won various awards at the International Beer Challenge and the SIBA festivals last year as well in 2013. And the brewery has a visitor centre and shop, so you can actually go and visit them. You get daily tours at 2 PM, and they'll basically walk you through the brewery, and you can follow the whole process of brewing beer, and you can have a complimentary tasting at the end. So quite a cool little setup they have there. And they're another brewery, interestingly enough, that are looking for investment. So like Brewdog with their Equity for Punk scheme, you can actually buy into this brewery in exchange for discount in the shops and things like that. Very, very cool that you can do this on a smaller scale again. Brewdog obviously have grown quite big by doing this. But that's your kind of brief history of the Isle of Arran Brewery. Just to list a few of the other beers that you can get. Their other beers include the Gold Ale, which is or the Gid Ale, sorry, which is an amber ale, Clyde Puffer, which is a stout, Fireside, which is a winter seasonal dark malty beer apparently, Red Squirrel, which is a session ale, and this proceeds to help squirrel conservation. That's the same as one of the ones from the Cairngorm Brewery actually. There's Milestone as well, which is a dark amber ale, and you also get Sunset, which is the summer ale. In their older range they have the ale, which is a kind of one that is just called ale. It's a fruity, kind of malty fruity amber. You get Dark, which is the Scottish heavy, Blonde, which is the golden ale, and you also get Ab Blondie, which is has more citrus andy to it as well apparently. Meant to be a very nice one. And of course you have this guy, which is the Sunset beer. And I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one here. So this one apparently is, I'm actually telling you lies. It says that the notes that I have on it here says that it's an IPA, but we'll soon find out when we get this guy opened up there. I think it's an English Pale Ale, this one actually, but we'll get it open and see how we get on. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. If I'm not mistaken, that is kind of Brodick Castle and Brodick Bay that is on the artwork of this one. It's quite nicely presented actually. It's just a plain bottle cap on this one, a red one. Each of the beers tend to have different colour bottle caps, and the labels are a kind of similar style of artwork actually. So I'll just get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting again. It is 4.4% ABV, so it should be quite a nice one for us to try actually. Let's get it open. As you can see, a nice kind of smoky opening there. One thing I had to watch with the beer, when I had the blonde beer, I'm sure it was, this guy tended to kind of get quite a lot of carbonation in it when I poured it, and the brewery dug did as well. So we'll just need to see how we get on with this one, but it seems to be alright. I'll just bring up the light and let you have a little look. You can actually see it fairly well. It's quite a nice kind of bright orangey amber colour. I've just realised my light isn't turned on, so I'll just turn this on and let you have a little look at the colour of this beer properly. You can see that it's a really nice kind of slightly opaque, bright orangey golden amber colour. There was just a bit of a half finger of a frothy white head there, but that's kind of dying down. A good bit of big bubbles kind of going up towards the bottom of the head there. It's a really quite attractive looking beer actually. It smells really, really nice even without paying too much attention to it. I'll just put the light back down there so we can get on with the aroma. But a very kind of quite toasted malty aroma to this one. It's got quite a bit of hoppy sweetness to it actually, or malty sweetness, sorry. There's definitely a kind of biscuity and caramel malt in there. Nice malty caramel, as I say. It's got a nice kind of big bready and slightly spicy aroma coming out as well. There's a little bit of kind of juicy orangey fruit coming out, and maybe a little bit of grapefruit, but mainly there's quite a grassy hop note, and it's mainly biscuity, slightly caramel malt that's coming out. So as I always say, if you do get the chance to try this beer, just take a little bit of time and try and get used to the aroma of this one. It's mainly a big biscuity, slightly grassy character that this one has. There is a bit of kind of richer caramel coming out, I think, as well, but kind of sort of nice, kind of typical. It almost smells a bit more like a kind of bitter beer than an IPA. So let's get on with the tasting here. So this is review number 2, I believe, from the Isle of Arran Brewery, and this is the Sunset, which is an IPA, 4.4%. Cheers. It does taste more like a bitter on first tasting actually. I did actually struggle a bit to find out exactly what style this beer is. I would say just on the first taste that it is more of a bitter beer. But much like the aroma, it tastes kind of what you would expect from smelling the aroma. It's got a nice big kind of white bready malt base at the start, but it's got a lot of cereal spice in it actually, I would say. There's a little bit of kind of sweet caramel just underlying, maybe a sort of biscuity character, but it's a big kind of bready, biscuity malt base with a good bit of cereal spice in there. Yeah, definitely stick with that. A big, particularly biscuity malt base actually. You'll feel that nice kind of biscuity and cereal sharpness in there at the start. That's it's really quite nice actually, just how this kind of blends together. You've got a lot of cereal kind of cereal spice in there that just sits at the back of the tongue, and you've got these kind of big sort of circles just of this kind of nice spicy character that just sits there. You get a little bit of the kind of grassy aromatic freshness just going around the edge of the tongue there, but it's mainly quite a kind of matted biscuity malt base that's on this one with that cereal spice in it. It's definitely a little bit toasted as well. You can pick up a little bit of toasted character in the bread, which is quite interesting, but there's a nice little bit of fruit to it as well. Some nice oranges and a little bit of grapefruit, but there's a nice kind of grassy freshness to it that just spreads around the edge of the tongue. The fruit, I should say, is quite mild actually. You just get a tiny little bit of it on the very front of the tongue, but overall it is kind of really quite a mild fruit flavour that this one has. Yeah, the kind of overwhelming element of this beer, or the most prominent component of the flavour, is most definitely that kind of biscuity malt that you expect from this one. It's a very, very nice beer actually, the way that they've done this. Yeah, a really nice kind of biscuity, spicy character. It's really quite unique in this one. You can feel in the flavour the sort of unique mineral elements that you can get out of the water. It's kind of, you can just taste that little unique mineral character that mixes in on the, particularly in the sharper end of the tongue. When you just take it in, you do feel a little bit of the minerals that help bring out the fruity flavours a little bit more. It's very, very well done, this beer actually. Yeah, really, really nicely done, I would say. If you do get the chance, try this one. Whether I prefer it to the blonde, that's a kind of different story. I did really, really like the blonde from these guys, and honestly, the blonde beer is a style that I personally prefer. But I mean, some people might prefer the kind of bitter style to the blonde one. So give them both a try and see what you think. I like the blonde beer, but this is another kind of really nicely done bitter. It's a very, very sessionable bitter, and if that's the kind of beer that you're into, then definitely give this guy a try. I'm not sure how widely these guys are exporting actually. It'd be quite interesting to know that. But it's a very kind of nice and very light sessionable bitter, like I say. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say it's light to mid-bodied, probably more light-bodied. The carbonation does have a little bit of a prickle, and it comes in and kind of complements that spicy kind of cereal character that's in the flavour as well. It's only maybe a tiny slight little bit of an oily mouthfeel, but it's quite sweet and it's very easy drinking as well. It's a very good kind of sessionable bitter beer, this one. So if you do get the chance to give it a go, I would recommend that you do. I really like the blonde beer that these guys do as well, so check out a few of their other beers, pick a style that you particularly like, and you will get something a little bit unique from these guys. And as I say, I think this brewery might actually be on the rise in the next few years. There's a lot of new beers being produced from them due to that MMSI sort of investment group that they have, so keep an eye on this brewery. I'm sure you will be hearing a little bit more from them in the future. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. I'm going to go and share this one with my dad as well, because as I say, he likes trying all these beers that I review for you on here. I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer if you do happen to have tried it before, and I hope you're enjoying my series of Scottish beer reviews, and I'll catch you tomorrow with the next in that series. Cheers!